right, I'm here with Craig Tucker. Craig, I met you a couple years ago back at an event in Michigan, but do you want to tell the audience kind of what you do and a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Noah. I appreciate that. It's good to see you again, bud. So yeah, I met Noah a couple of years ago at an event at Point Angels in Detroit, Michigan, and I represent Vern AI. I'm co-creator and founder of Vern, and it's emotion recognition in real time at scale. We're patented, used by tens of thousands of people around the world, in award-winning customer service and mental health applications. Kind of came out of Michigan State University, studies that I was doing, and we found a new model of emotion, and that's what we've been working on ever since.
Awesome. So from my understanding, Vern has a specialty and then some offerings as well. The specialty being able to recognize emotions via AI or use emotion in AI. So tell me a little bit about that and then what you guys offer at Vern.
Yeah, that's a great no. I think our specialty, you're right, our core competency is emotion recognition. And we have a neuroscience-based model that doesn't have the problem that the psychological models do, and that they conflict with one another. One of the reasons why large language models have such a terrible time with emotion. And we created ours is based on neuroscience, works in real time, can do anything from analyzing conversations sentence by sentence, or you can be using it in some of the applications we'll be talking about soon. You can use it for AI itself to help, generative AI for chatbots, virtual assistants, avatars, to understand emotion and be able to react appropriately.
Okay. And give me a bit more specifics. You don't have to go into the secret sauce, but
Sure.
How do you tell an AI to have empathy or to feel a certain way? How does that actually work? Just explain it to me like I'm 5 years old.
Sure. One of the problems that we have found is in this whole industry and this whole journey is that we're all humans. We all have emotions, and therefore we all think we're experts on the subject. And couldn't be further from the truth. Psychology doesn't really understand, emotions as well as we would expect them to. There are standard models that say there's 5 or 7, depends on who you ask. There's other models that can be up to 13, 27, 40. You get the idea. Anybody that's been doing data science realizes we've got some mislabeling going on, and we're probably introducing confounds, and that's exactly what happened. So I had given up. No, I was sitting in a classroom. I'd given up on trying to find this. I was working on a sentiment analysis team in the doctorate at Michigan State, and was just like, I can't do this. And some friend of mine had invited me to go and audit his neuroscience class. And halfway through the course, he had said something during a lecture that was just hit me and struck me. It's like, wait a minute, this might be the key. He talked about how Sir Edmund Rolls had found a binary process in the brain which controls, the reward chemicals in the brain. And it's basically also where we get euphoria and dysphoria, which are the only observable emotional models we can actually see in the brain. Difference between psychology and neuro is obviously psychology is trying to get in the black box by asking questions of the box, and neuroscience is actually looking inside the box. So you get a little bit different data set in which you can make all of these, these logical leaps. And the long story short, Vern is, more of a neural model. So it works and picks up these latent, distinct, but salient clues that we as humans have evolved to give to one another. So what Vern does is it basically replicates a human receiver, and we all act as senders. And if you know anything about the Shannon-Weaver sender-receiver model, I ask everybody. Yeah, everybody knows that one. It's one of the most cited papers in science because it still holds true. And so what we've done is we've been able to quantify how data gets moved between sender and receiver. And what we did was really interesting, Noah, is we found out that we play a game with one another. And that really was the big, huge breakthrough moment for us.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you guys are going to be releasing something coming up in the next few days, hopefully, fingers crossed. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, we are releasing a new product called Hoomans.chat. It's HOOMANS, and like the dogs or cats would call the people. This is a little human adjacent. And these are avatars. If you can remember back in the day, the product or Project Chat Roulette, where you'd randomly talk with a random stranger. In this case, it's going to be an avatar. But these avatars are something unlike you've ever seen before. They're deeper, more personal. They can sense your expressions and your feelings. They can see your environment and interact with that. The depth and quality of their personality is unlike anything you've ever seen. And because they have our control system, what we call an action pack, is they never go off script. So good luck trying, and anyone does get anything off script, let me know. But it should be a great, fun experience. Got a number of different really interesting characters that you could talk for a minute, talk for an hour, but either way, you're going to have an incredible experience, and that'll be dropped out here pretty soon.
Oh, super exciting. Tell me about a couple of these characters.
All right. Our most widely known character, the one we developed in the beginning, is Zeke. He's the cowboy. Basically, he's the world's first all the way from prompt to avatar entity. So he didn't exist before we decided to create him. And a lot of work went into the creation of building models up and then being able to get the avatar model to train on an AI without making it look horrible, right? Jumpy and all these other things. So it took quite a bit of time. So Zeke is starring as the storyteller, as one of the avatars, and he will be able to spin whatever yarn, suits your fancy and in a way in which you've never seen before. And if you can, think of a never-ending story or choose your own adventure, that's what the experience would be like. And then, of course, we have Amber. And if you've ever experienced Amber, she's one of our avatars who's not nice, right? If you can just think of her as a mean girl. And if you've ever been roasted, that's what you're in for. So it's kind of like that Reddit, subreddit of /roast me. That's what you're going to experience. However, there's a little wrinkle with this one. With this Amber, she can understand if you are empathetic or if you're sincere or not, and she will really judge that. And if you are, she actually becomes a little nicer, starts to reveal part of her tragic backstory, and you realize why she was so mean.
Oh man, that's awesome. I'm excited to start using these. So let's pivot a little bit, going from Vern specific towards the general AI space. Sure. Obviously, you've been building in it for a while. You've been familiar with the AI space for a while. I was going through some texts of my own the other day just to look at when I saw my first ChatGPT text, and that was about back in 2022. So I think we've both been in the space and familiar with the space for a while, but just give me your general take on how you feel about AI in general and how you've seen it evolve over the past few years.
Yeah, it's strange. No, you're right. We saw that coming out of the labs in their first initial betas and testing with OpenAI in their product. And I think that anybody who was in the space knew what was coming. I don't think any of us really realized the speed at which, it would hit. We all had an idea of what this could be because we're seeing it, right? We're the ones seeing these large language models respond the way that they are. We're the ones seeing them, win chess championships and, building some of the software. And so we knew it was coming, but just to see it break out in 22, I know it was a huge ripple effect across the entire industry. It went from, oh shit, I'm screwed, my startup is dead, to, oh my God, this is going to replace everybody's job on earth. You got the doom and gloom to the, to the wide-eyed optimism that kind of comes with these new technologies. And what's really funny to me is, I had a feeling that large language models would become synonymous with AI, and it did, much to everyone else's chagrin. AI isn't just a large language model, as you know, right? There's a lot of AI out there that do, visual recognition, pattern recognition, trying to find and security. You're looking for incongruities and abnormalities. There is AI that out there that does, really complicated math in real time. There's a lot of different types of artificial intelligence, and even if you look at like our model, you wouldn't know, according to everyone else's conceptualization of AI, you may not even classify Vern as an AI. We weren't derived off of deep learning or a machine learning model, for instance. We tried that. It didn't work. It always had some problem with the labeling, and so that it would have no external validity. What we did is took from that knowledge and that testing to create our own handmade and hand curated with content analysis experts like Dr. Brendan Watson at Michigan State. Literally wrote the book we used in the doctoral program to help create what we used to call in the 80s a fixed expert system, right? We just didn't have the computing power, didn't have, the ability to create a golden truth to base everything off of.
That makes sense. Cool. So if we talk about AIs and LLMs specifically, which ones do you find yourself using? Just kind of I do a weekly race segment. So I talk about how's GPT and OpenAI doing this week and how's Claude and Anthropic. So which ones kind of out of those main big LLM companies that your average Joe might use are you using by yourself and then at Vern?
Sure. So all of the above, really, Noah. We use everything. We'll use Gemini, we'll use Claude, we'll use ChatGPT. OpenAI product, obviously, is like most other, like the market, it's about 80% of our usage is through an OpenAI products. And that's, what we've got our Vern AI wrapper called Lemmy on is ChatGPT. So you can put that on ChatGPT and you get Vern results to feed back into your own ChatGPT, and that's what the avatars use. So we've primarily used that, and that's our forerunner. It's not always the greatest, but it's the most consistent, the most stable, and it gives you the most expected results time after time, which, for an LLM is pretty rare, right? That's pretty rare. So that's for us. And that's been our experiences. And, with these guardrails and these action packs we put in, we've had now well over 2,000 conversations on these avatars since they've started. 2,000 individuals, who knows how many they've done conversations, but we haven't had a single report back of anything going off track. Knock on wood, it's possible, but we think that what we've got created, it's we should be able to reasonably say that statistic, 2,000 to 0, we're in a pretty good spot, right? We can pretty much not necessarily guarantee it won't happen, but the likelihood and the probabilities are really low. And they continue to be, and we'll continue to develop out in that space. So I'd say OpenAI is the winner for us. Gemini is excellent at working on, things around the edges of avatars, like what are their character like, right? Or give me, some sample conversations that I can help to train this on. And then, Claude's really good for just about everything, but we haven't used it as much as we, probably should, honestly.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I try to use Claude for more technical process stuff. That's where it helps me. But no, that's cool. How efficient would you say you are now compared to pre-AI? Obviously, you're working in AI, so it's 22 or a little bit of a messy comparison. But how efficient would you say you are with AI?
Oh, I'd say about 150% more efficient, without a doubt. In every phase of what we do, from those that are going to be writing copy to those that are going to be, for marketing or advertising, web development, design, analysis, all across the board, even coding. We don't do a lot of vibe coding. We've got a really good rock star staff that really doesn't want to introduce that element too much, but we do some around the edges. And of course, we build things, break them fast in our lab. So, that's kind of what we see.
Cool. Do you mean industry you think will look completely different in 5 to 10 years because of AI?
All of them. And I had somebody in the future, somebody who is really highly respected in the space, gave us their goal is to nobody work in 5 years. Let's see how that works in society. He's obviously a little bit drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit too much, but I think it is all of them, and they all will. It's just like any type of the disruptive type of technology. When the electric typewriter came out, personal computers, then the internet, then the mobile phone. All of these additional things we've used has just boosted our own individual productivity. But that also boosts our own individual creativity. And the absolute explosion in the economy of applications, services, things like that were enabled in the digital economy, weren't even thought of pre-internet days. And we've got to realize, internet did take out, people that answered 211, right? Information calls. A lot of the stuff that maybe we didn't really want to do before. But I would say the top one that I see is going to be affected is customer service. And that really, honest to God, needs it the most.
Yeah, it does.
It's not these people, don't do a great job, but they're an impossible task. You don't call customer service because you're happy. You call customer service because you're upset. And invariably, you're going to get all of this negativity raining on you. It's going to burn you out. And they're going to have a hard time replacing you because, they're not expected to make much of an investment in customer service. And so you get the race to the bottom as far as cost-wise, and you get the requisite, service and value is just goes, through the floor. So I think that's the biggest one right now, what has the most ability. And it's more of a not replacing jobs. It's more of a expanding capabilities, to the point where it will seem like this is the way to go. People do other things. They used to have a job where you had to stand by the coke furnace at the steel plant and shovel, coal in there. And that was a hot, dirty, messy job. People died frequently, got burns constantly. Well, now a machine does that. Nobody's complaining.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Okay. I'm going to go off course a little bit here because I was just thinking about when I'm thinking about kind of the humans you guys are building and your AI humans, I'm thinking about a little bit about game development and storylines and things of that nature. What's your vision for, I know Grok is talking about building an AI generated game by 2026, and there's some chatter and some stuff about building games with AI. What's your vision for gaming with AI in the next 5 to 10 years?
Oh, I think that anywhere you have an NPC, now you can have a lot of creativity. So anytime that you have an outside character that's non-human that can affect storyline or gameplay, I think it's all the better. It just adds to, it adds to the experience. And especially if you're starting a game and you're getting a game out, you don't necessarily have that critical mass of 1 million people concurrently playing, right? And so the value there is goes down because you don't have a human opponent to play against. So I definitely see NPCs, specifically using some of the technology that we're using, to make them more human-like, to interact with people in unpredictable ways. So the gameplay isn't the same every time. I mean, that is fascinating. And I've seen some folks, that work at Elite Sports Gaming. They're doing some awesome stuff with this, football in New York City, like playing like NBA jams, or, they remember those old series, where they take you out of the football field and then all 11 players play at once. So amazing stuff. And it's coming because of AI. It gives them that capability. So I see that space just growing and becoming more and more relevant and more valuable.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I'm intrigued to see what happens with AI gaming mixed with some AR, VR stuff. I think it could get a little bit crazy. I'm excited. Talk to someone who is just finishing up college or just finishing up high school, and maybe they have a field set in mind. Maybe they don't know what they want to do. How can they leverage AI to either improve their chance at getting a job or to improve their chances of being successful in their field?
I say, first of all, embrace AI. Know it a little bit more than your older colleagues, because they're going to come to you and ask you stuff, right? And so your knowledge of that is definitely going to give you a competitive edge as you enter the workforce. So I would say get experience. If you can get a certification, put that on the resume, that definitely works. And I've heard two different versions of this same story that I'm about to say. I've heard some people say, yes, make your resume with AI, have them write it, because it's AI that's actually doing all of the screening, and you'll hit all the notes that they're looking for. AI will know how to talk to AI. There's some validity to that. I've seen tests gone through. If somebody wrote it out completely in ChatGPT, didn't edit it, put it through, and then submitted it, and it went immediately through to he got the interview, right? Yeah, it was crazy. And then he tried to do the same thing where he hand wrote it and they got rejected. But then I've seen other ones where they are incorporating AI screeners at some locations and saying, if you send one in that is detected as AI, it automatically gets deleted. Maybe one version of each, and then, send them both and see what happens. I've seen tests of. I would say that's the thing. Don't be scared of AI. I think it's a hell of a productivity tool. If I had it at the age of the people that we're talking about, the amount of possibilities would have been endless. I was in television, video, just to be even able to create your own movies, audio, content, and then, be able to get that to people through different technology methods, and not having a coding, background would have been fantastic, because you don't really need one as much anymore. I'm going to put an asterisk on that and say that if you don't have the background experience, you're going to make a lot of mistakes, because you're not going to know what not to do. And I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think having some idea of how to code can super leverage AI, but if you have no idea of how to code, then you can build a lot, but there could be some mistakes in there that you might want to have somebody take a look at.
100%.
Yeah. So when we got on this call today, I went to Chrome. I clicked on my calendar. I clicked on our meeting, hit join, and I did all of that in Google Chrome, a browser. AI recently we saw that you could start shopping in ChatGPT.
Mhm.
You could start talking to applications in ChatGPT. How do you see the future of browsers with AI? And then if you guys are building something in that space as well, tie that in.
Yeah, I see that the days of the user interface, the way we know it, are numbered. I think that why would you replace a human interaction with billboards, tabs, folders, pages, right? That's what we've been doing for the last 30, 40 years. And the appetite for people for something new and different is absolutely out there. We see that today. Yeah, eventually, no, I can see that, the AI humans we're building are building to do exactly that, to replace web pages, to replace user interfaces. You'll have a place to go. Avatar will step up, talk to you, however you want them to appear to you, and will be emotionally intelligent, be able to understand what you're looking for. If you're there to complain, it will then, be able to take your complaint, send it to the right person. You really, at that point, still want to talk to a human being. It can route you to the right place. It can also, we're building the stuff now where it can, pull up a product catalog, show you the products that are there. As you talk in your conversation, it can sort the products to whatever your specifications are. Using the video abilities, that these avatars have, we're working on building it so that you can try on the clothing before you buy it. The avatar can direct the entire thing. This currently what we're building out in the lab now. We should be able to in the next couple of months into a year have that capability. And so it just really boils down to is, what do you want your experience to be? Do you want to type it in, go to a web page, try to find your way through somebody else's idea of wayfinding, right? Or an idea of a hierarchy. Chat to the chat bot from the old days. This has 5 things it can do and doesn't understand a damn thing. Right, and ends up making you angrier than normal, or even a chat bot that has a little LLM, behind it, that has a little bit of flavor, but still really can't do a whole heck of a lot. What we're building too can sit on top of any agentic workflow. So it can be the same face that somebody reacts to, but across all of the different functions. So you have somebody that's greeting you, and the same person is also helping you, avatars and customer service. It's the same person that's handling your sales calls. Same, the person, again, it's a different agents, but all have this face. And so we're saying that the next big thing in user interface is a face. Again, we're back to that.
Yeah, that's wicked. It's going to be really interesting in a couple of years, or even now with what you guys are doing. I'm excited to see it all play out. Yeah, it's just crazy to think about.
It is. Some days it's like, what the hell are we doing?
Just trying to process everything. All right, 1 or 2 more questions here. I wanted to ask, we're seeing a lot of stuff in the media right now on something called AI psychosis, and kind of the ChatGPT, talking with ChatGPT made me go crazy, things of that nature. And some of it's a little funny, like joking, funny, and some of it's a bit more serious. So talk to me about how you perceive all of that stuff, and then how Vern can help limit some of that as well.
It's a difference in philosophy, Noah. Is it a safety first, position, or are you taking a position of engagement first? So we take the safety first. So that changes our whole mindset, how we see things, how we go about doing things. We engineered our system from the back forward to be HIPAA compliant, be secure, stateless, and all of these things that would be necessary to ensure trust and confidence. Whereas other companies, and I'm not going to throw anybody particular under the bus, but a lot of these companies built them for relationships, to build, to be able to do whatever the user wants them to do, fulfill whatever fantasy that the user has. And so that there's a fundamental difference in the marketplace between those types of chatbots and even an unregulated, uncontrolled, ChatGPT instance. Anybody throwing slideware on there, good luck. It's going to fail. It's going to do these things. You're going to end up with headlines, and, people that are vulnerable are going to end up, committing self-harm. We have a lot of controls that prevent that from happening. First of all, with Vern's ability to detect emotions, we then can map those to, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. So we can actually look and see how these emotions are playing within the context of what's said, be able to, we're not diagnosing, but we can get a good idea if somebody is tending towards or showing signals of a particular type of, mental illness, and we can intervene. We have very strong rules that don't allow you to play devil's advocate, don't allow you to play, role play, things like that might be able to get them in trouble. And in the end, our system is really based on the user. Your emotions control how the conversation goes. And if you're getting into these areas of really high negative feelings, the red flag will triage you, will assuage you, will pull you back from the ledge and get you on the right path time and time again. So that's the biggest difference between the technology. We see it every day. Every headline we come out, oh, who got hit now? Meta this time, geez, wow. Then you read why they were doing what they're doing and shake your head like, how could they? But again, am I going for engagement? Do I want to piss people off and pit them against one another, or do I want to help them? And then that's just a completely different fundamental philosophy to start with.
Yeah, that's a huge difference in approach. When I saw OpenAI, when I saw they started to finally implement some safeguards, I thought they need to get Craig on the line. They need to figure out how emotions play into these conversations and what's going on. All right, that's all I got for today. Is there anything that we didn't cover that you wanted to talk about?
No, I think we're good. I just think, the bottom line is go out there, try the stuff out. People that actually do care and give a damn are working really hard to make sure that they're safe, effective. We're using it in mental health. We're using it with, with children with autism. We're getting results where, parents are coming to us saying they've never talked to anybody longer than a minute. Now they're talking to these avatars 10 minutes at a time, right? Or being able to help an elderly person who has dementia, who, just talked to their child on the phone, hung up, and they forgot, don't think anyone loves them. Pick up an avatar, they could talk and continue the conversation. So things like that are out there. Really read through the article with a critical eye and know that there's a lot of good stuff out there.
That's excellent. All right, Craig, I appreciate you joining me today.
Thanks, Noah. Thanks for having me.